Right, g'day and welcome to episode 4 of the Road Best Travel podcast. This episode is titled Cycle Safe. Before we get into it, just obviously a massive shout out to our sponsor, 311 Collective. Without their help, none of this would be all possible at all. Head to their Instagram page, 311 Collective. They are closing in on 5,000 followers, so they're just doing an amazing job with everything that they do. Seems like there's a few giveaways going to be coming up soon too, so I think you might want to get on that. They dish out some pretty cool stuff with their other partners they've got. Also, just want to give a massive shout out to everyone online doing such an amazing job flying the emergency services flag. So I've got Unmarked Photography, Darkloom Streetwear, Raptor Ants, Australian Police Archive, End State Zulu, Backyard Observations, Code Red Ben, all the way up in New South Wales, and You Perform, doing an amazing job with his personal training fitness and getting everyone and giving a huge boost to everyone in the emergency services, giving them a great platform to share their stuff and just to, really give the emergency services a much needed boost. They all do a fantastic job. So let's get going with everything, and I'd like to introduce our guest for today's episode, Janine Gerovasilis. Unfortunately, being a guest here is, on one of these shows for all the wrong reasons. You wish you weren't a guest to be talking about this sort of stuff, But I'm very, very happy for you to come and talk about your story and what you have gone through and what the future holds for, I guess, what you've been through as a family. Can you just introduce yourself to us? It'd be fantastic just to get a good start to start us off.
Yeah, hi. My name's Janine. I'm here today to talk about my boy that I sadly lost last year. He was our middle child, typical middle child. His name is Elias. Very free-spirited young lad. I always thought he was very self-centered and stuff, but, after his passing, I've actually learnt he's had a lot of love to give to other people. I've learnt so much more about losing him, about him when I lost him. But he was the middle child of 3 children. I have an older son and a younger daughter, and of course my husband. And basically last year he shocked us when he told us he was going for a motorcycle learner's permit. He'd never shown any interest in bikes. But when he told us, we said, "Really?" He goes, "Yep, and you're not going to like it." And I said, "No, we're not going to like it." But Elias being Elias, he went up, got his learner's permit, bought a bike, was loving it. But later on down the track, he got his license, and we wanted to get him an advanced rider course. But he said, "No, Mama, because in the new year I'll get my bigger bike and I'll do it then." And I said to him, "You still got 6 months, mate." But tragically, he was just riding on a gentle road with a group of riders that he had never met. Took the bend, actually really didn't take the bend, went across an embankment and hit a tree. Our lives have turned upside down since. But so I'm basically here now to really just try and advocate for rider safety. There's just too many motorcycle fatalities and injuries on the roads. So I just want to make a difference and save a life.
Yeah. When it came to, I guess, understandably, parents, when it comes to motorcycles, what drew Elias to want to start this as a new hobby? And because he was quite, I guess, junior with his career with Victoria Police, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah. Actually, post graduation, Elias only worked 8 weeks.
Okay.
But honestly, I don't know where motorcycles came from. Yeah. The only thing I can think of is one of his mates had a motorbike. Whether he thought maybe it's going to be easier to get around, but actually, by the time you kit up, the weather, 1 minute it's hot, 1 minute it's raining. I remember he was at the academy at the time when he got his cycle learner's permit, and we had that massive storm. And he actually rang one of his mates, says, can you come down and just follow me home just to make sure I get home safe? Yeah. But honestly, he just never showed any interest in bikes. So that's where the shock of it came from.
Yeah. And you yourself, you and your husband never had any sort of...
No. My oldest son, he likes to dirt bike ride, but even he said to his brother, he says, you wouldn't get me riding on the roads.
Okay. Right.
Very strange.
So tell us about Elias, though. Rather than there's a lot of these, and I take the exact same thing, having lost a family member as well. But and from what we've seen recently is that it is much better to tell people about how they live rather than how they pass.
Yeah.
So
So Elias was a typical young boy, naughty from the day dot.
Sounds like me.
He and I clashed we clashed. But, as he got older, he had a really good bond with his brother and sister, especially as they got older. But his first career really was plumbing. Okay. He started off as a plumber. He was fourth year plumbing. And he had moved out at the time. He was living with a girlfriend. And he came home and asked for his birth certificate. I said, what's that for, mate? He goes, I just need it. So, okay. But then I found out he was applying for the police. Okay. I was like, really? I mean, he had uncles in the job, and my niece's partner was in the job. I was like, But I said, you're going to finish your plumbing, aren't you? He goes, if I get into the police, no. No, he says, I'm over plumbing. So Elias being Elias, he was determined. And in the end, he actually quit his plumbing job before he got accepted into VicPol and became a nurseryman with Nashiki Nurseries up in Monbot.
Okay.
Absolutely loving it. And they really enjoyed having him. But anyway, Elias got accepted, quit his Nashiki job, and off he went.
When did he start?
He started in October 2023.
Yep. Right.
Yes. So, so every day when he came home from the academy, he's like, how was your day, mate? Yeah, it was really good. Really loved the firearms unit.
Who doesn't?
He did get back squatted once.
Oh, yeah.
Which I was really disappointed for him because he had built up a really good connection with some of his squad members. But when he joined the new squad, there was another Greek squaddie there.
That helps.
Who just took him under her wing. And she was just beautiful. And I've got to go back here. But later on, she got back squatted out of Elias's squad, and therefore we were disappointed. Yeah. But anyway, he just soldiered on, graduated. We actually met this young lady at his graduation. Seeing Elias graduate was the most proudest moment. He looked so smart in his uniform. He had his mates there. And, and so every day he came home from work then, we asked him about his day. He was just loving his career. Yeah. He was based up at Belgrave at this stage because that was his training station. Sadly, we never knew where he was meant to go. Yeah. Because 3 months later, we're back there at the academy for his farewell.
3 months.
3 months later, yeah. So he graduated in May, and his service later on was in August, late August.
So when it came to, I guess, can you? And I know that I know the answer to this question is going to be absolutely. Can you remember the day?
The day of
when it happened.
Yeah.
You can remember it.
Yeah. The actual night of him going on his ride. Bill and I were just sitting on the couch, like normal sometimes. We were butting heads. And the dog was on her bed. He gave the dog a pat, said, "See you, Iris," and walked out the door. Didn't even say goodbye to Bill and I. And we actually didn't know where he was off to. I knew nothing about him meeting up with a group of bikes, people he had never met. It was just on a Facebook group.
But you knew he was going for a ride, though.
Knew he was going for a ride, but had no idea where. And it wasn't until the knock on the door at 1 a.m. in the morning that I found out a bit more about what had happened. And the police told me that he was out on a group ride with about 9 other riders, and they started off in Narre Warren. They headed up to Belgrave. They had a reset in Belgrave. Then they rode into Emerald. Elias needed to go to the toilet, so he went to the toilet. They all got on the bikes again, but they thought Elias was up the front because he knew the road. But when they got to Beaconsfield, they realised he wasn't there. And so when they got to Beaconsfield, they realised he wasn't there. So they tried calling him, no answer. So 2 riders headed back towards towards Emerald, saw lights and sirens, and instantly knew something was wrong. 000 was called. The ambulance were about half an hour away. So 2 paramedics one off-duty paramedic and CFA, which I believe you know, Chris May. They clearly lived nearby, and the paramedic had a defib, so he got to Elias and started CPR. But I forgot to mention that there were 2 public responders. Did stop 2 young girls and a gentleman. So they first started CPR until the paramedic arrived, but sadly there was nothing they could do. And the tree was, I don't know, 20 centimetres wide. But I think what's happened, his bike's come up the embankment, hit the tree quite high, because you can see the marks on the tree, and I think the bike's fallen back on him. But toxicology report, he was 0. He wasn't speeding. He was actually doing only 56 to 58 kilometres. But maybe for Elias, his mistake that night was riding at night. There's higher risk of animals, less visibility. He could have sneezed, but we don't believe he had a medical episode. We never did a full autopsy. Because of his police application, he had to hand in all his medical records. So he did used to get migraines, but he hadn't had a migraine for years. So, it's just so sad. He had his whole career ahead of him. We miss him dearly. Sorry. I know his siblings miss him. But there's nothing we can do now. But what gives me comfort is that he was doing something he enjoyed. He actually said to his mate, "When I'm riding a bike, I feel free. I feel like the dragon from How to Train Your Dragon." But, he was doing something he loved, and he didn't suffer.
We all strangely take comfort in that, don't we? It's what do you think it is when it comes to, I guess, when we say things like that, when we say things like he didn't suffer, we say and that we were were glad that he was doing something that he loved. Why do you?
I don't know. I feel that he didn't go through a long illness. You know, I think the hardest part was not able to say goodbye. And the fact that he never said goodbye. I never gave him that hug. I just don't know. But I do know that if Elias had survived and was paralysed, he couldn't police again. Like, I did meet the ambulance guy and he did say he would never have policed again. If he could not have gone to the gym, he loved the gym. He really found something at the gym. But if he had to live with Bill and I for the rest of our lives, he would have hated that. Yes, I would have had my boy, but I don't know. We'll never know what the outcome could have been. But we just now have to continue his legacy, I guess, to try and help others, because that was his goal. He wanted to help others.
Absolutely. That's what we say to all recruits who come through. It's you gave the obvious answer, didn't you, when it came to why do you want to join this this career? Why do you want to do this? Was to help other people.
Yes.
And people sort of, and I completely understand where people will sort of think that, you know, because you get put in this phase of what do you do now? What do you do? You never ever thought that you were, and you never wanted to ever have to be in a state where you are advocating for road safety or cycle safety.
Yeah.
But it's something.
Yeah.
And that's what you want to do. It's what so many of us, unfortunately, find ourselves thinking, going, well, it's better than nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
And in this case, unfortunately, it's happening too often.
Yes. Yep.
So the question that I wanted to ask now, which is the reason I ask this is so everyone can actually get and understand what happens behind closed doors when it comes to losing someone from a life lost on the road. So I asked this question so people can get the background. We see, obviously, when people hear about these incidents happening and it's affecting a family as greatly as it does, do you think that people get the actual full picture?
No, I don't think so.
No. So tell us, since August last year, for yourself, your husband, your eldest and your youngest, to your best ability, what's life been like?
Very different for us all. For me, I needed to get back to work. Like, I think a week later, I went into work just for a few days. It took Bill a lot longer. Bill's not the funny man he used to be. Like, we own a barber shop and Bill's the larrikin in the shop. And when he came back to work, you know, people ask, how are you, Bill? I was like, he couldn't even say, I'm good. He would just deflect it back to the person, how are you? And he's slowly coming out of his shell, but he doesn't talk much about it. I talk a lot in the shop about what's happened, especially to parents of kids going for their L's and P's, to those kids thinking about getting their L's and P's. So I think for me, I talk about a lot more. That's my way of coping. I've become a lived experience speaker now through Amber Community. So I now speak to people who have offended on the roads. So I haven't had any counselling, and I think maybe that's my type of counselling. Bill has his routine every night, every morning. We've got photos of Elias in the house, and he will go up and say good morning to every one of those photos. And at night time, he'll say good night to those photos. Poppy, she hasn't shown much emotion, and I don't think it's really hit her yet. Even if I'm crying, I don't get any consoling from her. But I know her and Elias had a really good bond because he lived at home with her. Whereas my other son, Joachim, he has lived out of home for about 4 years. He's been back to and fro, but I know he misses his brother. He used to talk to him every day, whether it was texting or talking, especially when he was on the road, hands-free, of course, going to jobs because he's a refrigeration mechanic. So, yeah, I know he misses that. He came home earlier this year, which was the first time since Elias's passing, and his bedroom now is opposite Elias's bedroom. And, yeah, he just seemed a bit of a lost soul. So, but none of us have had any counselling. We just take each day as it comes, basically. But we still keep expecting him to walk through that door.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure myself and so many others are just.
Yeah.
Because the one thing that we talk about as a family is the finality of it. The suddenness and finality of it is what is so unbelievable. Yeah. And where you just can't believe it. I myself as well, and you're probably the exact same. You just don't believe it. No. You just don't believe that it's actually happened.
No.
You think of all these things as this was a joke. This was a dream. This isn't real. But at the same time, people sort of just go, wake me up from this dream. And it's like, no, I know this is real. There's got to be something else to it. There's got to be more to this. There's got to be something that's going to pull me out of this and put it back to normal. Yeah. But I have, and the way that how would you describe, I guess we've just gone over it a little bit, but your days these days, in terms of how you've switched tracks completely, if you could try and feel the comparison between your days from the day of and the rest of your life with Elias before to now, what does it feel like?
It's certainly not the same. This sounds really bizarre, but I have a lot more love for Elias because I feel like I didn't give him that love, if you know what I mean. It's I'm so proud of him. And I wish I could tell him that. And everyone says he knew that you loved him. But I felt like I never told him enough. But sometimes I feel like my day is pretty normal, if you could call it normal. But when we sit down for dinner, we have Elias's tribute table near our kitchen table, and there's an interactive frame that comes on. And it just comes on. And we see videos and photos that we've loaded onto it. And it's like, it feels like he's there, but still unbelievable that he's not there. But, I know for Bill, it's definitely not the same. And it's not the same for me, don't get me wrong. But I think out of all, he's the one struggling the most.
Yep. I mean, that's, I guess, between, I don't say this as a total common theme between fathers, but I'd say my dad has been the same. Yeah. In terms of, and we say not knowing how to deal with it or anything like that, because how do you? there have probably been times where you've asked yourself, am I dealing with this properly? Am I doing this right? There's no handbook on grief.
No, definitely not.
There's definitely no handbook on grief from road trauma.
No.
Either. When it comes to, I guess, the incident itself, how much, I guess, did you find out, or how much did you want to find out? I guess I ask this because there's a lot of things that people who are involved in these incidents, who are friends and family, who, I guess, find out a lot about what happened, how their loved one passed. And this is, I guess, to get the point across of it being far more real than a commercial on TV or shock factors. What sort of things? What sort of things were most difficult, other than the obvious? If there were small things or things that stood out for you from your son's passing that I guess were both, let's call it, easier than you thought to deal with, and difficult things that you were, I guess.
Yes. There was quite a few things that were hard. Talking to the coroner. The next day they've rung and they wanted to know whether they could do an autopsy. And we just didn't want that. We didn't want him intervened with. They did an external scan. Reading the coroner report and the police reports, the witness statements, I did all that. Bill's never read them. I was the one that had to go and finalise all Elias's accounts, all of that, because Bill just couldn't do it. Thankfully, I have a lot of good friends, but there's one friend that came along to the solicitor with me to just support me. She was basically Elias's other mother. The one when Elias was being naughty, I'd ring her and say, could you have a word with Elias, please? He's just doing my head in. And she would, and he would listen to her. But, yeah, I never wanted to see a photo of his bike. When I spoke to the investigator, never wanted to see that. I never wanted to see any photos. I didn't want to pick it up because they said, do you want to pick up the bike? I said, no, you dispose of it. I don't want to see it. One part of me thinks now I would like to have it to put on my PowerPoint presentation when I am speaking to people.
Yep.
To just say this is real at 56 kilometres an hour. This is what can happen. But what really upsets us now is when we see the news and a motorcycle has been doing the wrong thing and they've survived that. That's the hardest part. Because Elias wasn't doing anything wrong. He knew the road. But that he paid the ultimate price. And I sort of think that if it had happened down in traffic, amongst traffic, multi-lanes, lane changing, I could accept it more. But the fact it happened on a quiet road that he knew, that's the hardest part.
And I guess that's like everyone with their dealings with road trauma, it starts the wondering.
Yeah.
The what if.
The what if.
The what if. How many what ifs have you gone through?
Oh, heaps.
Yeah.
Yep. The one big one is, if you'd done an advanced rider course, if he didn't go out at night, you know.
If it was 30 seconds earlier or 30 seconds
But
later.
at the end of the day, if he had just not got that bloody bike. Sorry for swearing, but
No, that is absolutely, I mean, there's so much that as parents, I'm you know, lucky at the moment to only have a 3-year-old, but obviously you'd know more of this, is that you don't want to be sort of saying to him, no, don't do that, because what am I going to do?
exactly.
You know, what's going to happen to me if something happens to you?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you go, I can't do that to you.
No.
At the same time, it was the same for me with Josh. It was like, well, my guilt was, why couldn't I protect you? There was something that I could have done.
Yeah.
And after so many times, and you'll agree with this, is that you just find yourself going, there's nothing else I can do that I could have done. Where do you find comfort other than I guess the obvious?
Yeah.
There are times where we've talked about the what ifs and the why couldn't this be the outcome?
Mm.
But where do you find comfort in this?
There's a few things. So Elias's name comes from the ancient Greek word meaning the sun, Elios. So sunsets and sunrises, just seeing the sun shining today, means that he's there. Birds, wattle birds especially. We just lie in bed and we wait for this wattle bird to call, and we say good morning. It's insane. And we have a little place up at Locksport. Elias only went there a few times. He actually took the dog up there just before he joined the academy. And I remember him saying, he rings me, he says, Mama, how do I get to the lake? And I said to him, put Iris on a lead, that's our dog's name, and she'll take you to the lake because she loves the lake. And we've got some beautiful videos of him throwing the ball into the water with the dog and running along the lake. It's just lovely. So Locksport for us now, especially for Bill, is a really comforting place for him. Because of the sunrises, the sunsets, we have the sunrise on 90 Mile Beach and we have the sunset on Lake Victoria. But this wattle bird, he's there, and he's actually touched Bill on the back of the head. So he's just thinking, yeah, that's my boy. But the past 6 months, we've welcomed a German Shepherd into our home, which we have rehomed. He was 6 months old when we got him. And, you know, being a typical German Shepherd, and 6 months, he's still a puppy. He's 1 year old now, but he's just a naughty boy.
Yeah.
But sometimes we feel that's Elias. Elias has come back as Rumbo. Mm. Because when we got him, he sort of sniffed around the house. He went up to Elias's room. But even though, you know, he's destructive and naughty, he's actually brought a lot of love into the home, which is really nice.
There are so many people as well who I've come across who have the exact same comforts.
Yeah.
That's where they find comfort, because it relates. And it's not sometimes as, you know, you don't like to consider it as someone who's grasping at straws to find, I don't know, some sort of comfort. They're so real that they're so hard not to believe that these are real.
Yeah.
I am the same. When you find comfort in something happens and you go, okay, thanks for that, or good on you, or all those sorts of things. When we lose someone who, just like anyone, not meant to go the way they went, they find a way to come back.
Yeah.
It takes energy for them to do it constantly. But for someone like, for yourself and your husband's sake, Bill, I hope that they're not too hard as well, because understandably, you just never wished that they had to be even these little things.
No. Bill the other day had a dream, had his first dream with Elias. Because at the beginning, all Bill wanted to do was walk across the road and get hit by a bus. And I kept saying to him, I said, Elias wouldn't want you up there, you know. I said, you've got 2 kids and you've got me, that you need to be here. So, you know, he had a few funny thoughts. And I kept saying, you can't go. He would not want you up there. I think it was last week or the week before, he had a first dream about Elias, and Elias was there. And he's happy up there. And Bill says, but I want to be with you. He says, no, you can't. So I think that's been good, that I think he's feeling a bit happier that he's okay.
Yeah.
And also we lost Bill's dad earlier this year too, and my father-in-law was Elias's godfather, and we kept saying, you know, maybe Elias just said to his papu, that's Greek for grandfather, that, you know, papu, it's okay. This place is okay. I need you to be with me. Yeah. So, yeah, so that gives us a bit of comfort too.
And I can totally understand. That's also, as comforting as it is, it's unsettling.
Yes.
Because it's not what your son should be saying to you.
No.
Or what anyone should be sort of saying, no.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'm where I am, and you just sort of think, I don't want to hear that.
No.
We
want you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess following this, if you could explain now through, and what we spoke about earlier, is that to be able to help in this phase, how do you want to help? I'll start with the how. How do you want to help in this?
We just want to make people aware that riding a motorbike is a really dangerous thing. Whether you're just out on a gentle ride, being an idiot through traffic, whatever, it is still a machine that could possibly kill you or give you fatal injuries. So,
would you be prepared to, I guess, there are times where people might think, no, it's not dangerous?
Look, I used to ride horses, and I never thought that either, but even that's a dangerous thing. But yeah, they are dangerous. Doesn't matter how.
And you would have thought this whether Elias was still here or not.
Oh, easy.
Yep.
Yep.
I guess that's the
We
point.
never wanted our kids to get bikes.
Yeah.
It's bad enough riding a push bike, let alone a road bike.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody, I guess, if you were to have a bit of not an argument, but a debate with somebody who said, no, it's not dangerous, and you said, yes, it is dangerous? How would you, I guess, and fully understanding what you've gone through, how would you, because I've had the same sort of thing of, you know, this is dangerous. No, it's not dangerous. This is why. How would you, I guess, receive that, and what would you not present as your argument, but present as the best defense for why you believe it's dangerous, other than the obvious?
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree that it was not a dangerous thing, because it is, but I would just be encouraging people to stand out a bit more. You know, you look at a lot of motorbike riders, they're all in black. Less visibility.
Leather, unfortunately, doesn't come in fluoro.
No, but, you know, maybe we could have a bit more reflective gear, strips. I don't know. I've never ridden bikes, so I don't know a lot from all that side of things. But being riders and drivers have to be aware of each other.
One of the questions I did want to ask is, it might end up being the age-old debate of which one needs to look out more.
I speak to a lot of motorbike clients, and they say to me, "You have to drive that bike." How do they say it? You have to ride that bike as if you're going to get hit, sort of thing. You know, you have to ride defensively, always on the lookout. But sometimes you can't see some of the cars even. Like, for instance, yesterday it was raining, it was foggy in the morning, and the cars don't have their lights on. So the riders aren't seeing those cars either. So I would be really too advocating for everyone to keep their driving lights on all the time.
It's that whole thing, not for you to see, but to be seen.
Yeah.
It's, like what you do. I mean, my mum and dad say when we ride our push bikes on training rides, it's like the red light in the back. It's not for people, it's to be seen.
Yeah.
Not for you to be able to see. It's also to be seen. It's just so that people know that you're there and to be as obvious as possible.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, I guess, that debate of who needs to look out more, have you come across people who, I guess, or other motorcyclists who have been, I guess, a bit more, gone in the other way of that? No, motorists, drivers of cars need to look out more for us. Yes. And why is that? Why do you think that they have that sort of thought?
I think because they're more at risk. You are a bit safer in a car.
Oh, yes.
And I see that spot where Elias has lost his life. If he was in a car, he would have survived that.
Yes.
Without a doubt. But yeah, you've just got to look out for each other. Be aware of each other.
I guess being a motorcyclist is part of the category of vulnerable road users.
Absolutely.
And I think that is something that we all, pedestrians, people who ride push bikes, people who use public transport, they are part of the vulnerable road user. And the way that the vulnerable road user is described is those who are more at risk than the, I guess, majority. The majority is cars, buses, trucks, that sort of thing. They use the road. And when there's, I guess, one motorcyclist out of hundreds of cars, they are the vulnerable ones.
Yes.
So where, I guess, would you want to, I guess, put that point across, and how and why, I guess, would you want to put that point across to, I guess, hone the point in that you are vulnerable as a motorcycle rider and what you should actually do as a vulnerable motorcycle rider? What would you give as pointers or advice to motorcycle users that they are the vulnerable ones?
Yeah. So I'd be saying now, and I quite often, I'll start from a learner point of view.
Yep.
I've learned a lot since Elias's passing on the learner process. The learner process is only a 2-day course. And on the second day, they go out with an instructor for a bit on the road, and that instructor will say yay or nay whether you can get your learners.
Okay.
Then 3 months later, they go back for a check ride. And that, I think they're out on the road with an instructor, and that instructor says, yep, okay, you can go for your license now. But it just sounds crazy that can just get a learner permit and then go straight out onto the road. So firstly, I'd be saying to especially the younger ones who don't want to do their 120 hours of driving to get their car license, go out there and get your car license first.
So you don't have to get your car license before you get a motorcycle learners.
So once you turn 18, you can go and do a 2-day course and be straight out on the road and have no road knowledge whatsoever.
Wow.
Which is insane.
I have to agree with you there. That is...
Yeah.
Yep.
I've done a little bit of research. In Queensland, a learner rider is not allowed to ride without a mentor rider next to them, or the qualified person needs to be in a car following or being alongside them.
That's kind of like having your supervising
driver.
Yeah.
They're still not allowed to have a pillion passenger,
No, yeah.
so they can't do it that way. So there's that. I'm actually seeing a lot of learner riders now without their high-vis vests. They must wear a high-vis vest. I spoke to a young guy the other day. I was filling up my car with fuel. This young guy rocks up, learner rider, all in black, hoodie, jeans. And I said to him, mate, you're a learner rider. I said, where's your high-vis vest? And I told him my story, and he turned around to me and said, you should be advocating to get the older people off the roads. And I said, mate, it's not about that. I said, I'm telling you now, you're doing the wrong thing. You know you're doing the wrong thing. I said, you can't even look at me in the eyes. And I walked away from there. I was angry because he thought he was invincible. You're not invincible. Mm. And I was telling a client about it in the shop, and he says, I'm sure you got through to him. Mm. I said, you know what? No, I didn't. I said, because I was coming into town. I live in Emerald. And he was flying into town, still in his black, no high-vis vest. So it's not getting through.
But he had a learner plate on.
He had a learner plate on.
I don't understand
but
that.
Still not wearing his high-vis vest. Yeah, so... How,
I guess if you have success stories and how you get through to people, do you have any, I guess, not that you can actually physically see, but do you have any periods through your advocacy through Amber Community where you've gone from a session or through counselling where you've gone, that worked?
Yes. I've only done 2 talks through Amber Community. My first one, I was so nervous, but they tell you to scan the room when you're telling your story just to see the reactions. So for people who don't know about Amber Community, I actually do speak to people who have offended on the roads, and telling my story is meant to give them a bit of a wake-up call on their actions. So you get speeding drivers, you get drug drivers, just people doing the wrong thing. And my first talk, there was a young lady there, and she actually at the end, she says, can I come up and give you a hug? I just want to give you a hug. And I could see it really had affected her because she was a mum, a young mum. And I was having a look at some of the guys, and they had weepy eyes. Whether it made a difference, I felt like it did. Mm. But my other thing I do now, when I get a chance, if I see a learner rider pulled over on the side of the road having a snack, mainly up in Emerald, I'll pull over, I'll get out of my car, and I go and have a gentle chat with them. Whether they're doing some of them have their high-vis vests on and stuff, and I tell them my story, and, I've had hugs out of it. I've had some of them say, thank you for sharing. One guy said, sometimes we just need that wake-up call, that we're not invincible. And another one, the other week, there were 2. There was a fully qualified and a learner rider. And he says, you're the second one that's pulled us over today to have a chat. I said, well, that's good.
And so that's the next question I was going to ask is, what's your plan for this next chapter of, and I would say it's towards the younger generation of riders.
Yeah.
Because do you feel like that is, because at times with motorcycle riding, it's also a means of getting around, but at the same time, it can be a hobby.
Yes.
And sometimes with our hobbies, we push the boundaries with them as well, where they're not something that is, when it can be separated for, I guess, things like our livelihood and what we need to get around. When it's our hobby, we can, push the boundaries and I guess the more we learn, the more we can sort of cram into that little bucket of what we know, and then that's where it can overflow. So I guess when it comes to those who push the boundaries, what would you say to them?
Just don't do it. You're just too much at risk.
And that's saying that in the fact that Elias didn't even push any boundaries.
No boundaries.
And that's probably so common with a lot of motorcycle riders.
Yep. Like I see them crossing double lines on corners. Bill and I were driving home back into town, and he was a fully qualified rider, but he's just overtaken us on double lines on a corner. And Bill just gets so upset because it's like, you've taken that risk.
When it comes to that sort of thing, and you see it so often.
Yep.
Do you think it's out of... What do you think it is when these risks are taken by a vulnerable road user? What do you think the attitude is with that?
They probably just think, it won't happen to me. I just don't know.
They're in control.
Yep.
They can work it out.
Yep.
I can make my way through this. I can work this out.
Yep.
I can do it. Just like that's like a lot of road users that we see today is that, and what I say is that controlling the controllables is very different when it's using the road, because it's almost 50-50, sometimes 40-60. What we can control is very minimal in the scheme of things of what we've got control of. With everything else, we don't have control of that. And when we're in a vulnerable state or on a vulnerable piece of equipment, I don't know. It's just something that I haven't been able to experience, but I do too wonder about these things that vulnerable road users will push the boundaries for and why. And I can totally understand in your case of how frustrating it is, because it just keeps happening.
Yeah. And just doing these stupid things, going a bit faster just to get to somewhere a bit quicker, it's not always going to happen.
No. You'll save seconds.
Yeah.
And to go over, I guess, over the stats so far, 22% of lives lost on roads have been motorcyclists. People might not think that's a much of a number, 22%, but that's out of drivers, passengers, pedestrians, motorcyclists, and other forms. The 22% is it's so far it's 50 motorcyclists have been killed or lost their lives on Victorian roads. I looked up in the last 48 hours, 4 across the country have lost their lives in the last 48 hours. Sometimes we see that motorcyclists somehow have a spike in lives lost on roads. And then sometimes we talk about it, and then it just will peter out into nothing. So what's your plan, I guess, from here, other than telling your story and other than Because I like to sort of see what's the future. This is the immediate of what you do now with Amber Community and getting the point across to young riders. But what's your future with this and your advocacy for not only Elias but for young riders especially?
Yeah. As I said before, like about getting these younger riders to go and do their car licence first, have experience on the roads. I know Elias in himself, before he became a learner driver, he'd just sit in the back with his headphones on his phone, not taking any notice of the roads. And when he became a learner driver, I remember we were coming home from basketball and so we live up in the hills towards the Dandenong Ranges, and he goes, "Which way, Mama?" And I said, "You serious? You don't know which way you're going?" So he had no idea, like road, like direction and stuff. But so that would be the really first thing I would really like to push for.
Learn the road.
Well, learn the road, but yes. So I would like to see that no rider should be able to get a rider's license until they have a car license first.
Yep.
That's my big one. Where more visibility. Bill and I have, and I'm sure there'll be a few little arguments about this one, but maybe a learner rider should have a different coloured helmet. Something bright. I can see people are going to really backlash with that one, but anyway.
But there are rules about having to wear high vis.
But you got to wear high vis. But exactly, and that's do the right thing.
People don't do it anyway.
That's the rule. The other thing is wear your protective gear, your leathers, your Kevlar pants. I'm not sure, but because that was one thing I really did growl at Elias about when he got his learners. He'd just been to his mates for a swim. I was coming home from work and he just had his T-shirt, his high vis, and I think a pair of jeans at the time. And when he got home, I growled at him. I said, "Mate, where is your protective gear?" He says, "Oh, but I'm a good rider." I said, "I don't care if you're a good rider. It's the other idiots out on the roads that you have to look out for."
That's exactly what, my grandmother would say that to, or my great-grandmother or great-grandfather would say that to my mother. It's the other idiots that I'm worried about, or the other people that I'm worried about on the road there. Not you. I'm not worried about you.
Yeah.
I know you're a good rider, or you might think you're a good rider.
And as I said to him, I said, if it's hot, drive your car. If it's wet, drive your car.
Yep.
So there's that. So after I had that growl at him, he went out, he had a full kit of leather.
Yep.
And even on the night of his passing, he had it all on. And from what I was told, he hardly had a scratch on him. But then when you become a P-plater, you don't need your high vis.
No.
So our main focus really too is just be visible on the roads. Wear some brighter clothes. Wear some reflective gear. You've got to have your headlight on anyway, but a lot of riders are in black. Their bikes are black. You're just not seen.
Yeah. What sort of changes would you want to see if you had 3 wishes, or up to 3 wishes? What would it be?
Definitely the no license without a car license first. That would be number 1.
That makes sense.
Yes, definitely the high visibility.
Would you want to make that mandatory?
Yeah, I'd love to see it mandatory.
Yep. No matter what.
No matter what.
Yep. And I reckon there'd be a lot of motorcyclists that would agree with you. People who've been riding for decades would go, "I've never gone out without my high vis on. It's just what I do."
High vis and their protective gear.
Yeah.
Stop riding in thongs, T-shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
And I honestly feel that insurance companies should get on board. And if you're not right, if you have an incident, and you're not wearing all your gear, I don't know.
Penalty. Yeah.
Penalty.
Yep. Would it be?
I know that sounds harsh, but
I guess there could be advocacy for it being included.
Yep.
Who knows? Sometimes with all these things that make it, it can be included in what makes your bike roadworthy. You're included in that and what you've got.
Yep.
You can't actually get your license, in a way where it's like, oh, I'm here for my learner's, test or anything like that. Or do you have all this? No. All right. Well, then come back when you do.
Yep.
Because that's you can't you can't come through the door unless you have all of this. That is part of it. It's not just sort of an option.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
But the other one, which I haven't brought up yet, but is more advanced rider training.
Yeah.
Cornering courses and stuff. As I said, I've talked to a lot of motorcycle people in the shop, and they've all said do the advanced rider. But then, as some people say, if you've done the advanced rider, they might think they're more invincible on the road because they've done this course.
That can be a bit of.
So it's a tough one. But yeah, and then the other ones I've got here, the lane splitting. Just you see them coming through.
Yeah, because
at a higher speed, I think you're only allowed to do it under 30 k's an hour. Under 30 k,
yeah, and learners aren't allowed to lane split. Yeah.
Yep. And then the other one would be the probationary for a car license and a bike license sort of marry up with each other.
Yep.
So, for instance, Elias was a green P plate car license driver when he got his learner permit. So when he got his license on his bike, he went straight onto a green P, not a red P. And then when he became full licensed driver on his car, the P plate came off his bike. He still had restrictions, so he wasn't allowed to have a bigger bike until I think 6 months later, and he still wasn't allowed to carry passengers. So both Bill and I feel that the P plate system should be separate to a car license.
Yeah. Because even though the road rules are pretty similar, well, not absolutely similar, there's different rules.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the obvious reason is because they're far more vulnerable. The reason is because you don't want to take away, I guess, the independence from riders and from what they know from their skill level, but at the same time, we're seeing far too many deaths.
Yeah.
From vulnerable road users and vulnerable motorcyclists. And at the same time, unfortunately, a big spike in them are inexperienced riders. And riders where, unfortunately, and with respect to the ones who have passed, have been the ones at fault for not being more cautious and being, I guess, pushing those boundaries that we spoke about. And so we don't want to see that. It's like with a lot of these road rules, with changes that we want to see and what changes that we want on the roads for the benefit of the rest of us, is because this is the problem. This is the problem that's happened, and this is why. And until we can fix that, we have to tighten up. And it's why we have a lot of, for example, drink driving and drug driving in terms of our rules are compared to the rest of the world. They're some of the most harsh. Americans will be absolutely flabbergasted when they find out you can be breath tested just like that. Because there was a huge problem with it. So unfortunately, we see such, with these problems aren't getting any better with these road users, with motorcyclists just being, and sometimes just becomes in the media. It's just, this is just a problem again. how do we fix it?
Mm.
Don't we want to fix this? Don't we want to get
Absolutely.
better with it? But at the same time, we can totally understand that we can't just keep, I guess, we don't want to take away people's independence and freedom with what they've got, because unfortunately, it's the minority that ruin it for the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
So with the experienced riders that have you ever come across a majority of experienced riders who have heard your story and have heard of what's happened, or have you come across those who are experienced?
Yes, I have.
And what do they say about this, and what do they
We do a lot of brainstorming actually in the shop. A lot of them do agree with Bill and my views.
So that's funny. Sorry to interrupt, but you've got people who you'll pull up at the petrol station who are doing the wrong thing and they won't agree with you.
No.
And the ones who are doing the right thing will absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
From what you've been through.
That's it. So I find it really hard when clients do come in who tell me that they're bike riders. A lot of our clients do know our story, but yes. But one other thing a client did say to me, he said, also get experience maybe on a dirt bike first.
Okay.
Naturally, before you go out on the road, but. Yes, get that experience.
Why is that? Do you reckon? Why do you reckon they say get that experience on a dirt bike?
I think maybe just
the mechanics of the bike.
Mechanics of the bike, the speed of the bike.
Yep.
You can still have crashes in bushland and stuff as long as you're doing the right thing. But before you go out on the road, it's just so much different.
Yeah. Because people who have ridden bikes, mountain bikes. Did Elias ride mountain bikes?
No, never.
Like that?
No, never had an interest in push bikes.
Okay.
Had a BMX and hardly rode it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
no.
So this was just so out of the blue.
Like he never followed the Grand Prix
or anything like that.
Nothing.
It's
And
just something they went, I'll have a go at.
Yeah. And when I saw all the bikes coming home from the Grand Prix the other day, I was coming back from Queensland, and it's like, God, there's so many bikes. Look at them.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were black. It's just.
If we could, I guess, finish on, what would be from now, if you were able to say, even though Elias has passed, what would you say to him right now?
You got me. I would ask him first. Well, I say, I hope he's proud of me for what I'm trying to do to continue his legacy, and that I miss him so much. I love him so much, and I just wish I could have given him one more hug.
In terms of your perspective on road safety and cycle safety, what would you say to him?
Don't get that bike. Please don't get that bike.
And I could sort of say that if there was anyone else that would that be the same sort of thing that you'd say to anyone who's thinking about it too? Don't do it.
Don't do it. Think long and hard about doing it. Because I don't want anyone to go through what we're going through too. It's just too much of a risk.
Janine, I'm so grateful for you to come in and share this.
Thank you.
I cannot, even though me and my family have gone through something similar as well, there is still nothing that I can remotely imagine for what it might feel like for you as well.
Yeah.
and the thousands upon thousands of families that find themselves in this situation.
Yeah.
And in this frame where you have to talk about it, talk about what ifs, talk about whys.
That's it.
And to be thrust into obviously by choice, advocacy for it.
Yep. And that's the thing, if we don't talk about it, we don't get the message out.
Yeah. We wish there were no advocates, many advocates for this sort of thing, because that means that the job has worked.
Yes.
And we hope that, it's becoming something that's, and we don't want there to be just one story, and I get the frustration as well, though, of just a story. So many stories, and then we get desensitized to it because there's so many.
Mm.
It's like these aren't. It almost becomes a phase where it's like, well, these aren't shocking to me anymore because I've heard them all.
Mm.
So I'm in the same frame of mind as you of being, what do we do? Just being lost for this, lost for words of what we can do about this.
Yep.
But at least it's something.
Absolutely. Yep.
Isn't it? And so, what would I guess with Amber community, what would you say to them?
Thank you. I've met so many lovely people through Amber community, through Police Legacy, Elias police station. Just, it's a sad way to meet people. But I'm so grateful that I'm now part of the Blue family, Amber community. It's been great, and it's only the beginning.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. It's only the beginning.
Janine, thank you again so much, and I'm so hopeful that whoever listens to this, if they've got this far, we chatted for over an hour, if they've got this far there's anyone who is a motorcycle rider, knows someone who's a motorcycle rider, is thinking about being a motorcycle rider, is any sort of rider, whether it's bicycles, mountain bikes, motorcycles, anything. It's that one story we hope can just be enough. We don't want to say to people to completely just don't, and take away what they love doing. Yeah. Just to understand that it can happen to anyone. Yeah. It happens to small families who just have had the world and the rug pulled up from underneath them just for doing what they wanted to do. And we appreciate so many motorcycle riders who are experienced, who have great respect for the road and other road users and themselves, who know the dangers. And I guess it's something that we can all get on board to. Those who've had the experiences of the worst times of their lives and the experienced riders to be the number one team to make sure that this doesn't happen to young road users, because it's just not fair for to be put in those situations with something that is, I don't want to use the word dangerous, but something that is far more of a risk. It's like walking on the road as opposed to using the footpath. Exactly. You'll put yourself at risk. Yep. So thank you again, Janine.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem at all. And for you, for Bill, for Poppy, and Joachim. I don't know what to say. No. And that's just from being in the experience. I can't say that I hope things are going to be good for you and I hope things are going to be okay, but I just hope that this incline that you find yourself on through life, you get stronger at it.
You do.
You keep climbing and you just keep getting stronger.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be.
That's it.
And yeah, Thank you again so much for coming on, Janine.
Thank you very much for having me.
No
Thanks,
problem.
Alex. Bye.